They love to talk about my name. They love the buildings, the headlines, the campaigns. But what they never talk about is the chaos, the collapse, the risk, because without risk, there is no story. There is no empire. You think I went from a $1 million loan to global billionaire by playing it safe? No chance. I gambled everything. And sometimes I lost big, but I never stayed down. I always got back up. And every single time I came back stronger, bigger, louder. Back in the early 1990s, I was on top. I was flying high. The casinos were booming. The buildings were iconic. The name Trump was gold. But then the crash came. The economy nosedived. Real estate took a massive hit. And suddenly the same people who praised me, the bankers, the media, the suits in their Wall Street offices, they turned on me. Quick, Trump's finished. He's over-leveraged. He took on too much risk. That's what they said. But here's what they didn't understand. I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew the storm was coming, and I knew I could take it. Was I in deep? Yes, I owed billions. Not millions, billions, but didn't hide. I didn't run. I didn't beg. I went to the boardroom, sat across the table from the same guys who were sharpening the knives, and I negotiated like a killer. I said, if I go down, you go down. But if you let me fight, if you give me the space, I'll bring it all back. And I did, because I understand something most people never learn. When the stakes are high, that's when you make your name. That's when you define who you are. The media loved it. Trump goes broke. Trump's empire crumbles. They printed lies. They exaggerated the damage. They wanted blood. But I didn't fold. I fought. I started making calls. I sold off what didn't matter. I protected what did. I cut deals behind the scenes that would make your head spin. I used the chaos as leverage. I didn't cry about losing. I rebuilt while they laughed. That's how you win. That's what real players do. And believe me, I was scared. I'm not going to lie to you. It was war. There were days I didn't sleep. Nights I didn't know how I was going to pay for it all. But fear doesn't stop me. I use fear. I eat it for breakfast because I knew something they didn't. I never quit. I never stop, and I always bet on me. Always, and when you've got that mindset, when you've got that iron will, you can survive anything. Anything. You know what happened next? I came back stronger than before. I bought 40 Wall Street, a building nobody wanted. I got it for nothing, renovated it, filled it, turned it into one of the best deals I ever made. That's risk. That's strategy. That's vision. While the cowards were playing defense, I was already planning my comeback. And that comeback turned into billions. Not by accident, not by luck, by refusing to give up. I've been laughed at more times than I can count. When I said I was building Trump Tower, they said it was too ambitious, too risky. I said, watch me. When I stepped into television with The Apprentice, they said, Donald Trump on TV? That'll never work. It worked. Huge. When I ran for president, they said I was a joke. I had no shot. But I walked into that arena and took on the establishment, and I won. Because I don't play by their rules. I make my own. That's what risk is, not chaos control. Control in the middle of chaos. The reason most people never get anywhere is because they refuse to walk into the storm. They want guarantees, they want comfort, they want certainty, and that's why they stay broke. That's why they stay forgotten. Comfort kills ambition. Comfort is for losers. I chased risk like a lion. I looked for it. I invited it because I knew where the risk is, the reward lies. And I don't go where it's safe. I go where the reward is. I remember the bankers looking at me like I was finished. I remember the fake friends who stopped answering the phone. I remember every headline that called me a fraud, a failure, a has-been. But I didn't respond. I didn't clap back. I built. I worked. I kept my mouth shut and let my actions speak. And now? My name is still on the buildings, still on the books, still on the ballot, because I refuse to stay down. And that right there is what makes a winner. Let me tell you this, if you're not risking something, you're already losing. That's the rule. Every deal I ever made had risk. Every move I ever made had stakes. I wasn't afraid to put skin in the game, and neither should you. Stop asking for guarantees. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is a lie. It doesn't exist. The winners make the moment perfect. They move first, they speak first, they bet first, and they don't apologize. There was a time I could have walked away. I could have settled, I could have played it safe. I could have said, let me stay in my lane, stay under the radar. But I didn't. I built bigger, I doubled down. I pushed the chips forward. And every time I did, the world said I was crazy. But every time I came out winning, they had to shut up. They had to watch because I earned it. I earned it through war. My first real estate deals were risky. I went into Manhattan when other people were afraid. I dealt with City Hall, construction unions, old money power players. I didn't care. I saw opportunity where they saw risk. And that's how you win. You see what others can't. You move when others freeze. You act while others talk. You want to know how to build something that lasts, something that outlives the critics? Risk, discipline, guts. You can't outsource courage. You either have it or you don't. And I had it. Still do. That's how I turned my setbacks into stepping stones. That's how I took losses and turned them into leverage. That's how I built a name bigger than any building, because I wasn't afraid to fail. Most people lose before they start because they talk themselves out of the game. What if it goes wrong? Let me ask you something. What if it goes right? What if the move you're scared to make is the one that changes everything? What if the risk you're avoiding is the path to your next level? You'll never know, because fear froze you. And I don't respect that. I don't respect fear. I respect action. I respect fire. I respect people who get punched in the face and still say, let's go again. You think building a billion-dollar brand was easy? You think I had it all figured out?
Please.
Half the time I was moving on instinct.
You got
momentum. And the other half I was adjusting in real time. That's the game. You don't need to know everything. You just need to start. Start with speed, start with fire, and figure it out on the way up. That's what I did. That's what all winners do. I never feared failure. I used it. And if you're serious about winning, you will too. Let me tell you something nobody wants to hear. The only thing holding you back is your mind. That's it. It's not your background. It's not your family. It's not the economy. It's not the competition. It's the way you think. The thoughts in your head, they're either weapons or they're weights. And most people around carrying mental garbage, fear, doubt, excuses. They think small. They move slow. They play not to lose instead of playing to dominate. That's why they never win. I train my mind for power, not comfort power, not calm control. From the moment I stepped into business, I knew I had to think like a king, not a worker. Like an owner, not an employee. That mindset, that identity, it changes everything. You wake up different, you speak different, you act different, and the world starts treating you different because the world follows your energy. It doesn't care what you say, it cares how you think. It can smell fear, it can smell confidence. And if you walk around thinking like a loser, guess what? You'll attract loss. I've seen this my whole life. Smart people with no belief. Talented people with no edge. They've got degrees, connections, even money, but they don't have the mindset. So they fumble, they hesitate, they stall out. I didn't stall, I didn't doubt, I believed. The deal closed. I believed before the tower was built. I believed before the votes were cast. That belief made people follow. That belief made people invest. That belief turned momentum into reality. That's what mindset does. It builds gravity. People ask me, Trump, what's your morning routine? What's your secret? My secret is I think like a billionaire before I brush my teeth. I think like a winner before I open my eyes. That's the difference. I don't wait for motivation. I don't wait to feel good. I move because I'm locked in. I'm obsessed. I'm wired for impact. I don't need music to hype me up. The mission hypes me up. You want to win? Get obsessed. Not interested, obsessed. Not curious, committed. You think I became president because I said the right things? No, I became president because I owned the stage. I walked in with certainty. I dominated the space. I spoke like I was already leading because in my mind I was. I didn't ask for permission. I didn't ask for approval. I walked in and said, let's go, and guess what? Well, the world followed because leadership is mindset. Wealth is mindset. Power is mindset. Everything else is just noise. Let me be real with you. Most of you are too soft. You're addicted to comfort. You wake up and the first thing you check is your phone. You scroll, you compare, you complain. You haven't even stood up yet and you've already lost the day. That's weak. That's loser behavior. I don't live like that. Never have. Never will. I wake up and I go to war. Because life is war, business is war, success is war. And you don't win wars by being cute. You win by being savage. You win by being strategic. You win by being locked in while everyone else is distracted. Mindset isn't about thinking positive. It's about thinking strong. You don't need good vibes. You need grit. You need steel in your brain. When things go wrong, you don't panic, you pivot. When you get hit, you don't cry, you counterattack. That's how I operate. That's how I've always operated. That's why I win. And let me tell you, winning isn't luck. It's habit. It's standard. It's mental repetition. You don't rise by chance. You rise by choice. And I choose power every single time. Let me ask you something. How do you talk to yourself when no one's watching? When the lights are off, when the pressure's on, when the deal is falling apart, what's the voice in your head saying? Is it saying, I can't do this? Or is it saying, let's go again? I've trained my internal voice to be brutal. Relentless. I don't coddle myself. I don't make excuses. I make demands. I say, figure it out, fix it, finish it. And I don't stop until it's done. That's what separates the killers from the complainers, the top 1% from the middle class. It's not talent, it's not timing, it's thought, pure thought. You either dominate your mind or your mind dominates you. There is no middle ground. I remember building Trump Tower. There were delays, issues, people telling me it wouldn't work, telling me to scale back, telling me to be realistic. Realistic, that is for the average. That word is poison. That word kills dreams. I don't do realistic. I do massive. I do iconic. I said, make it taller, make it better, make it unforgettable. That wasn't just ego. That was mindset. That was me rejecting limits, rejecting fear, rejecting small thinking. And now, that tower is a global landmark because I refuse to think like everyone else. Same thing when I took on Atlantic City. They said it was a mistake, too risky. Too chaotic. I said perfect, because where there's chaos, there's opportunity. That's how I see the world. That's how my mind works. I don't see obstacles, I see openings. I don't see risk, I see reward. That's mindset. And that's what you need if you want to rise above the crowd. You want to be different? Think different. You want to lead? Think like a leader. You want to be rich? Think rich before the money shows up. Speak like you already have it. Move like you've already built it. Energy comes before evidence. Confidence comes before confirmation. That's the rule. That's how this works. But most of you are still looking for proof. You want to see results before you commit. You want the money first, the applause first, the comfort first. And that's why you'll stay stuck, because the world doesn't reward waiters. It rewards deciders, movers, doers. You've got to flip the switch in your mind and say, I'm done thinking like a civilian. I'm done thinking like a spectator. I'm stepping into power and I'm not stepping out. Your environment can't build you. Your friends can't build you. Your parents can't build you. You build you. Choice with your mind, with your focus, with your fire. That's how I did it. I didn't wait to be discovered. I discovered myself. I didn't wait for opportunity. I became opportunity. That's the Trump mindset. And it works every time. You want to know what I say when things fall apart? I say, good, that's right, good, let it fall. Let the storm hit, because storms reveal structure. Storms separate the real from the fake. And I've always been real. You throw pressure at me, I perform. You throw hate at me, I rise. You throw fire at me, I walk through it, because my mind is built like a fortress. And I built it brick by brick. Now let me ask you again, what are you thinking right now? Are you making excuses, or are you making a comeback? Are you playing small, or are you playing to win? Are you operating like a victim or like a king? Because you can't be both. You have to choose right now. So choose power, choose obsession, choose dominance, and start thinking like the empire you're about to build. So you've got the mindset. That's step one. But now it's time to move. Now it's time to act. Because mindset without strategy is just noise. It's a motivational poster. It looks nice, but it doesn't build skyscrapers. It doesn't close billion-dollar deals. You want to win? You need a system. You need action. You need to take that confidence and turn it into contracts. That's how I did it. That's how you go from talk to empire. I didn't sit around and wait for success to find me. I went after it like a predator, strategic, focused, relentless. When I built Trump Tower, every single piece of that deal was calculated. I land. And the air rights, the zoning laws, the union negotiations, the brand partnerships. It wasn't just about building a beautiful building. It was about positioning. Dominance. I didn't just want a tower. I wanted a message. I wanted something that said to the world, Trump is power. Trump is luxury. Trump is permanent. That's strategic thinking. That's how you leave your name on the skyline. Here's what most people don't understand. Wealth is a chess game. It's not about moving fast. It's about moving right. I studied every inch of the board. I studied my enemies. I studied my customers. I studied the media. Every time I made a move, I was thinking 10 steps ahead. I didn't just look at what something cost. I looked at what it was worth to me 5 years down the line. That's strategy. That's vision. And that's what most of you are missing. You're too focused on the now, the quick win, the fast cash. I played the long game. Always. I didn't need to get rich tomorrow. I was building something that would last forever. That's why I branded everything. The name Trump wasn't just on a building. It was on water bottles, on ties, on steaks, on hotels, casinos, golf courses. I turned my name into a billion-dollar asset because I understood branding, I understood scale, and I understood one thing better than anyone: attention. Attention is, and I mastered attention. I knew how to make noise. I knew how to stand out. Whether they loved me or hated me, they were talking about me. And when people talk, they buy, they engage, they move. I don't need everyone to like me. I need them to notice. That's strategy. That's power. You control the conversation, you control the deal. The Apprentice wasn't just a TV show. It was a marketing machine, a platform. I used it to show people how I think, how I lead, how I fire. That show wasn't about entertainment, it was about reinforcement. Reinforcing the dominance. Every episode was another brick in the wall of the Trump empire. That's called media strategy, and it printed money. But let me be clear, I didn't just play the media. I played the market. When others panicked, I positioned. When they sold, I bought. I picked up assets for pennies on the dollar because I was calm while everyone else was crying. I bought 40 Wall Street for cheap and turned it into gold. I made deals with airlines, stadiums, banks, entire countries, and every single one of them was a calculated move. I never guessed. I never gambled. I moved with purpose. I didn't waste energy. I didn't chase things that didn't align. I said no more than I said yes, because focus is a weapon. And if you say yes to everything, you dilute your power. I protected my brand like a fortress. I turned down partnerships, turned down shows, turned down deals, because if it didn't elevate the empire, it wasn't worth it. That's strategic discipline. That's why the name still holds weight. You've got to learn to use leverage, financial leverage, media leverage, people leverage. I didn't do it all myself. I built teams, I hired killers, I surrounded myself with top-tier operators who could execute. Because I'm not here to micromanage, I'm here to lead. And real leadership means building systems that print results with or without you standing over them. That's why the Trump brand is everywhere. Because I built a system. I didn't just work in the business, I worked on the business. And I moved fast. That's the other key. You can't build if you're slow. I made decisions at lightning speed. I'd see a deal, analyze it, strike. While everyone else was in meetings and think tanks, I was already done. Speed wins. Boldness wins. You want to dominate? You've got to move like a storm, fast, decisive, unstoppable. I didn't overthink. I acted, and if I made a mistake, I fixed it. That's the difference. Most of you are still researching while the real players are already cashing checks. I also studied my enemies. I knew their weaknesses. I watched how they moved. I saw the patterns, and then I exposed them. That's business. That's life. You don't attack blindly. You strike where it hurts, where it makes the most impact. I did that in real estate. I did that in politics, and I'll keep doing it because I don't play for applause. I play for dominance. You want to know how I went from a small loan to billions? I treated every dollar like a soldier. I put it to work. I didn't blow it on garbage. I reinvested. I scaled. I took that money and turned it into movement. And I took that movement and turned it into momentum. And once you've got momentum, you become impossible to stop. That's how empires are built. And when the market shifted, I didn't cry. I adapted. I pivoted. Strategy means flexibility. I went from real estate to licensing.
From buildings to media, from business to politics.
I didn't let the world dictate my future. I dictated the world's reaction. That's what winners do. They don't wait for the economy to be perfect. They make it perfect by how they move. It's by how they execute. I want you to understand this. If you're not building something that outlives you, you're playing too small. Every move I make in mind. God likes legacy. When I put my name on a building, I think about the future. When I speak for the next generation of builders, of leaders, of lions. That's why every strategic move I make is bold, unapologetic. You've got one life, one name, one legacy. What are you doing with it? Playing safe? Playing soft? Or are you moving like someone who's building something massive, something permanent, something unforgettable? Think bigger, act sharper, move stronger, build smarter. That's how I did it. And that's how you will too if you're ready to stop thinking and start executing.